Good afternoon. Just an exciting time. This is an exciting week. Getting ready to go play in a very prestigious event and one that's very difficult to compete in. 14 tremendous teams, great players, great coaches, playing in the Southeastern Conference tournament, and it is a grueling event. Whether you're playing 5, 4, 3 days in a row, it's very, very hard to do. And the best thing I can tell you is you just focus on one game at a time and don't get caught up in anything else. And we've been fortunate enough to where we've been able to do that. I think we've been in 5 straight finals there, if I'm not mistaken. And just you know, our kids have done a great job going into that event, just really being focused. So that's kind of what we'll talk about today, is where our minds are, what our distractions are, and just trying to get focused down the stretch here. We've got two segments of our season left. This one going into the weekend, and then postseason after that. So proud of my team, as I've said many times. Just really excited for them, excited for these two, along with Rickea being on the second team All-SEC team today, and Jordan being on the all-defensive team. Just know a lot of hard work and commitments going into that. So proud of Jess and her improvement from her freshman to her sophomore year and where she is today. And I think the rest of the league has acknowledged that by voting for her and awarding her for that. And certainly Jordan was a preseason selection, and she lived up to everything and then some that she was supposed to do for us this season. Rickea being on the all-freshman team as well as being second team, and then Jessika and Rickea being the finalists for the Gillum Award, the Gillum Trophy in Jackson next Monday. So just proud of everybody, and now the time is, can we get better? We're going to work really hard today on some things that we've got to get better on, and I'm excited to see in the next 3 days if we can get better going into Greenville.
I'll take questions. We'll start with Robbie.
Joe, I know Coach made a case for you last year for All-SEC, defensive especially, but this year you got a chance to come back and get that honor. What's that mean to you to be represented there on that list with some really good players this year?
It means a lot to me. I was definitely disappointed last season when I found out about the awards and everything, but I'm just thankful and grateful that I got the chance to come back this year, and then I got the chance to be on those lists this year. So it means a lot.
Jessica, Coach talked about your improvement from last year to this year, and now you're on the All-SEC team. Just talk about the journey and what it's taken to get you to this point in the career, and you're still just a sophomore.
A lot of hard work. I mean, I'm still working at it every day, getting better. So, yeah. And I'm thankful to be on the team.
Next question. We'll go with Ben.
Jess, we talked to you about sort of that transition into a bigger role this year. What has that been like for you? And I guess you said that you're still working. What do you feel like is the next step for you?
Well, first of all, it's been hard, because Tiara's a really good player. So just trying to fill her shoes, trying to rebound, help my team win, that's hard. But I'm making it. I'm getting better at it. So I would say defensively, I can help my team more, like blocking shots, helping them, and getting more rebounds, working on that part.
Go with Logan.
Jordan, the team came up short trying to win the SEC regular season championship. Does it create some excitement knowing that you can chase a trophy, within a span of 3 days?
Yes, definitely. Our last tournament in Canada, we didn't come out with the trophy, and then the regular season, we didn't come out with the trophy. So we definitely had something to go out there and play for and to prove, to the country, and we want that. We want that shot.
Tyler.
Jordan, kind of going off of that, obviously the ultimate goal is to be the last team standing at the very end of the season, but you kind of got this SEC tournament, between then and now, or between now and then. Having won it last year, knowing what it feels like to win it, holding that trophy up in Greenville, how much motivation is that to do it again, especially considering this is your last chance to try to do that?
Oh yeah, it's a lot of motivation. I definitely want to go out there, take it game by game, instead of just looking to that Sunday game. We we got to handle our business Friday. But just that feeling of, having the confetti falling in your head and playing in it and, just celebrating with your team, knowing all the hard work we done put in over the years. It's a moment that I'm looking forward to.
Ben?
Joe, kind of that a little bit. I mean, you guys have all played in tournaments where you played back-to-back days, and obviously even in the earlier in this season. But what do you kind of maybe tell some of the younger players about that, and sort of what it takes in the SEC tournament? I know obviously it's maybe a step up in competition or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, like you said, we've already experienced those back-to-back games before, and I think with Canada we had another game before that, so it was really like 4 games back-to-back. So, just kind of to prepare them mentally and physically, just, preaching to them that we have to take care of our bodies. We got to get a lot of rest and eat right, and that's things the coach has been telling us all through the season. So, just, like I said, taking it game by game and not really looking towards the championship, but just starting with that first game to handle our business.
Anything else for the players? All right, we'll dismiss them, get ready for practice, we'll go to coach. Start with Robbie.
Vic, I know you've played both the teams that you could potentially play already this season, but things can change, especially for LSU, losing one of their top players. At this point in the season, do you focus more on your team, or do you scout both teams the same, or what's kind of your approach going into?
Yeah, absolutely. I think both teams are completely different than when we played them. Florida is much different than the first game of the conference season when we played them back on January 1st or 2nd. LSU is different, but Nikki's done a tremendous job. They're really playing at a high level, without Ayanna. And just, you got to take your hat off to both those coaches. They have made their teams better. They're playing at a very high level. They both have difference players, multiple on their team. And so, they equally will have our attention this week as we practice today, tomorrow, and Thursday. We'll watch them play Thursday night. And then you got to shoot around basically in one film, maybe 2 film sessions before you play them on Friday night. So it's a quick turnaround, but as Jordan said, we played Marquette on our way to Canada, and we played 3 straight in Canada. And we do that for a reason, for this particular reason, and that you may have to play, you're going to have to play 3 straight here. So, in regards to LSU and Florida, that'll equally weigh in our attention. We've already been breaking down film on them. Johnny was watching it on the bus ride home the other night, from Mississippi.
Ben?
The committee released their last rankings yesterday. Is that something you all even look at through the season as a coaching staff, and I guess beyond that, as a 3 seed? I mean, is that something that you can use as motivation to play up or anything like that, or is it just kind of irrelevant?
I mean, I think there's so much that's going to happen between now and that day when everything is selected. I think we can certainly, I think we can improve our spot. I just glanced at it, to be honest with you. I couldn't tell you the teams in front of us or behind us, but it's just something that I think it's more for the fans than it is for my attention. I'm focused on our team, trying to get them better, really trying to keep their head out of something like that. To be honest with you, sometimes with a young team, it's what you don't, you're better off not knowing certain things, but then sometimes, you're trying to teach them and you want them to gather some information, but that isn't one of them. And so I just kind of focus with them on, we got to get better today.
We'll go Tyler and then Danny P.
Last year going into the SEC tournament, the message was kind of, this is something that we've never done, we've never won before, given everything that, y'all had done to then Final Fours, all that stuff. You'd never won the SEC tournament, and then you won it. So going into this year, what's the message? How do you get your team motivated to maybe repeat and do that again?
Well, I think, there's a standard around here that we've set and we've established. Like I mentioned, I think we've been in 5 straight Sunday games. Now, you better not look past Friday or it'll jump up and grab you. And but for our kids, for our returners, they understand it. For our newbies, I want them to to feel the importance of this. This is the standard around here. But to do that, we're going to have to go through some really good teams. And I just think you've got to focus on Friday and Friday only. You do what I did in college and you cram overnight for an exam on Saturday, and then you do it again on Saturday night if you're fortunate enough to play on Sunday. And that's the approach. We've got a lot of time to focus on Friday, and I think that's where our focus will be. And so you know, for our team, you know, hey, our youth, you know, I don't think they'll be nervous, but you know, you never know. Going out there in a big arena with big lights. So I'll be excited to see them play on Friday night.
You can answer. We'll ask questions for
Fresh off a
Rickea.
test.
We'll go to Rickea real fast and let her get ready for practice.
Yeah, I'll get the coach to respond to this in a minute, but how was exciting for you to be a freshman and be an all-SEC, all-freshman team, and then also being a Gillum Trophy finalist?
I'm very happy to have those under my belt. You know, I feel as though, you know, I'm just happy, I guess.
Questions for Rickea.
Obviously, when you chose to come here, you knew that some accolades like this would be possible given, you know, everything that Vic has done with his players. But now that you've got those accolades and maybe some postseason awards and trophies coming too, you know, how good does it feel to have made that decision to come to Mississippi State? And I mean, you still got 3 years of this potentially as well.
Yeah, it feels really good that I followed my heart and didn't listen to what like outsiders were saying. You know, when making my decision, people were just saying like Mississippi as a state, like I don't think you will like it there. It's always hot, there's always bugs. You're not gonna like it. And you know, I took my visit and I actually fell in love with it. So it feels really good to know that my gut feeling was right.
We'll go to Robbie next.
Rickea, how are you feeling physically? I'm sure Sunday you were kind of on the back end of that illness. Where are you right now going to the tournament?
You can still hear my voice.
Yeah.
My voice is kind of coming back now, but just low on energy. You know, I'm trying to get it back, but I should be fine. Thank you for asking.
Anything else for Rickea? Go back to Tyler.
From a basketball standpoint, obviously, those first couple games were kind of rough trying to get used to the college game, but you kind of, you know, broke out and have been a 20-point-a-night player in conference particularly. How good does that feel to, you know, kind of jump right into the college game and do some of the same stuff that you were doing in high school as a really prolific player too?
Just seeing the things that we do in practice pay off. We just go through so many drills and so many game situations that it helps me in the game, and it builds my confidence and know that my teammates trust me to get the ball. My coach put me in positions to be successful. So.
Go to Ben.
Yeah, whether it's earlier this year in Canada or AAU or whatever it is, I'm sure you played plenty of these tournaments, whether it's, you know, day to day or 2 games in a day. I mean, is there anything different about that challenge, or I mean, you guys feel like you're pretty much prepared, even though, you know, you guys do have a big young group this year?
I feel like we're pretty much prepared. It kind of reminds me of AAU, like how we're going down there and no school, so that's always good. We still have study hall on the road though, but you know, just bonding more with my teammates, I feel like it's going to be pretty cool and a pretty cool experience because, you know, I've never been to something like this in college. So.
Anything else for Rickea? I will dismiss her and let her finish
Thank
getting
you
ready
very
for
much.
practice. Yeah. Then we'll go back to questions for Coach. We'll go to Robbie.
Coach, not comparable as far as minutes and their role on the team with Jessika and Tiara, but the production, Jessica's far ahead of where Tiara was. How high do you feel like her ceiling is? How much more can you get out of her? I know you mentioned wanting to play her at the 4 some, but she's had to be at that position and fill some pretty big shoes, and I know that was probably tough for her to do. Just how much further do you feel like she could go?
Well, I think she can. I think she's got a long way to go. I think she's a little more versatile than Tiara, and you know, I say this all the time as a compliment to Jess, but she's, you know, she does some things like Asia did when I saw Asia as a young player and then watched her grow up and mature into the dominant player that she was. And so, you know, I'm hopeful, and again, you all have heard me say this, the most improvement you typically make as a player is between your freshman and sophomore year. Jessica's a prime example of that. The challenge is now, can we make the same jump next year through this summer? And I don't know, but we're going to try. You can't put a value on how this summer, how much last summer we benefited from that, especially with these young kids. It wasn't your typical, let's go over there and play 3 or 4 games and tour the country and kick everybody by 80 and kumbaya, everybody feels good about each other. We were over there competing against some really good teams, and we're in some really tight ball games, and I think we obviously benefited from that experience back in June. So we obviously won't have that to fall back on this summer, but you know, I think that really kind of catapulted this young team a little bit and really provided us an opportunity that you typically don't have.
Go Tom.
Vic, going back to Tyler's question a little bit about the message going into the SEC tournament, and same thing last year, you were able to break through and win the tournament last year. Was there anything, obviously the groups are different this year in terms of players, but was there anything you and your coaching staff learned through that period to get over that hump? Or, you know, is there anything that you go into this tournament saying, well, this worked last year, let's use the same approach this year?
Sure. So our itineraries are the same, but they have been for the last 5. I think last year's group was really hungry to get over the top. They knew they had an opportunity to do something that's never been done, and we were talented. I mean, let's face it, we were really talented with a senior-laden team that was hungry to get it done, and we were playing well. And you know, this year's team is obviously equally, they're very talented. We just run into stretches sometimes where we look young, you know, but the message will be the same. This is another opportunity. We talk about it during the course of preseason, where we let, hey, you got a chance to win X number of championships throughout the course of the season. I think we had one in Canada, we had one in Vegas, we had a regular season championship, you got an SEC tournament championship, you'll then have a chance to win a regional championship, and then you'll have a chance to win a national championship. So that's 7 championships in the course of a season you have a chance to win, and so we've won 1, and we've missed out on 2 others, and so this will be the 4th one, and so you know, that's what you talk about. And again, that's kind of when we came here, and when we're recruiting, we talk about winning championships. And so this is another opportunity. But man, I'm telling you, this tournament in and of itself is so difficult. You're playing so many great teams back to back, great coaches, tremendous players. It's every bit as difficult as the tournament that follows after it. If you can get through the gauntlet of the SEC, you can win anything. And, you know, that's what this next tournament will hold is a 3-day gauntlet if you're fortunate enough to play all 3 days. But, again, you start looking ahead, you'll be packing up coming home Saturday morning.
Go Danny and Tyler.
We talked all year about how young this team is, but when you have a freshman and a sophomore on all SEC team, they're both finalists for the Gillum Trophy, it has to make you feel really good about the progress they've made and that you're going to still have them for a little while yet.
No question. And you look at, you know, Aaliyah, what she's done lately, Jemiah and Jayla in their youth. You still got Zaria, who's just a sophomore. So, I mean, we're really excited about that. And then, you know, that 3-player recruiting class, which includes Sydney, who's been here for a year. I mean, it's exciting to think about how, you know, what the future holds for this group. And again, just trying to get better. You know, we've got an opportunity, like I said, and we want to stay humble and stay hungry. You know, everybody walking around patting you on the back. Boy, you start drinking that Kool-Aid, it's not a good thing. And when you're a little bit older and more mature, you have a better understanding of that. When you're young, you can get full of that pretty quick, and it's not good.
Going back to the theme of the conference tourney, you talked about playing on Sundays and having senior-laden teams in the past. There was kind of an expectation to get to Sunday. This year's team being so young, do you feel like the same expectation is there, or are you really trying to take it day by day and you don't know what to expect maybe from your team?
Well, I think we are taking it day by day, which we did with the other teams as well. I mean, we really guarded against looking forward. We've always done that. Y'all heard me in here. Y'all talked about who we're playing next. I couldn't tell you who we were playing on the next Sunday or next Thursday, but we've been pretty consistent with that with our players throughout the course of the season. But I do think, as y'all have seen in ball games, we can have stretches where we can go on 24-0 run, or we can have stretches where we can go empty for 4 or 5 minutes. And so, we're still, as y'all know, we're still kind of tinkering with the lineup, and I'm anxious to see them go today and see who wants to compete. And, I think we'll have 12 of them out there competing. They understand it. They see it. And so you walk into that arena, and it's a beautiful place, and you just, we play in big arenas every night in the SEC, but that one will have a little different feel for them. And, you'll hope that Joe and some of our older kids who have been there and done that will have a little bit of a calming effect for them. And I don't really think it'll be an issue. Our kids love to play, so I think they'll be excited. They may have a little giddiness early, but we'll get them settled in.
Vic, you mentioned the idea of momentum, and sort of the tournaments like this can kind of give you some of that. I mean, you won a couple of games to close the season. You go into the SEC tournament ahead, and not to look ahead, but heading into March. How important is it for a team like yours that's young and to develop some of that going into the tail end of the season? Obviously, your teams in the past have done that, especially last year with winning the title.
Yeah, no, I think it's important. We need to go in there and play well, and I think that can really catapult you into the next. What's next? A couple of years ago, we lost 2 of our last 3 and cost us an SEC title. Then we went to the tournament and we played for the championship, got beat again. Then we came out of the tournament and made some pretty significant changes to our lineup and went on a run and got to the Final Four and played for the national championship. So, I just think there's always room for improvement. There's room for growth. As long as the clock's ticking and there's still time on the clock and there's still time in the season, I just think it's always been my philosophy, we're going to continue to work and get better. I've never been a guy that's, well, it's February, we're going to cut back and practice an hour and 5 minutes today. I don't know how you can get better than an hour and 5 minutes, y'all. I just don't. I can remember when I was at Arkansas, Nolan would come out and the guys would go up and down for about 45, 50 minutes. And it was like an up-tempo game, and then boom, that was it. And that worked for Nolan, and that's great, and it works for a lot of other people. It just, for me, I just can't justify that. I just don't think you can get better in that time frame. So, I think our kids have always been prepared at the end of the year. I think they've always been in really good shape. They've always, had a lot of toughness. And I think it takes that at this time of year. You're going to, we're fixing to run into some really good teams in our own tournament. Then you're going to run into some really good teams in the next one. So you better have it.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Coach.
All right. Praise the Lord and go Dogs.